Camera. All right. Good evening, everybody. We are back with our normal Wednesday night. We are missing one of our brothers in action, so Tim's not going to be with us this evening. So you're stuck with just myself and Stefan.
Yep.
Welcome to episode number. This is 20 or 21. I think this is 21 of
21.
About the Cards podcast, live tonight on YouTube as always. We got Stefan Loeffler. You can find him at Junk Wax Twins. I'm Ben Wilson. You can find me at Our Trading Cards, and our brother who's missing in action at Big Shep 79. He misses everybody, and he will be back next week. We thank everybody for their patience over the last couple of weeks. We've been filming on Thursday nights, so we're back at our regular time. Yes, we're a podcast by collectors and for collectors. We hope to bring you a smart and insightful podcast discussing trading card collecting, past and present. Generally, we're live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on YouTube. You can also find us at we're live on iTunes and Stitchers. You gotta do About the Cards pod. You follow us on Twitter at About the Cards, and then of course you're always here on YouTube as well at About the Cards pod. I apologize. This is my first night hosting the show, so you gotta bear with me. So we're going to be doing our new show segment. We're still trying to get one of them up called Live on Location, where we interview fellow card collectors at local card shows. And we're still working on a game plan moving forward for our dime box section.
And we're going to be at a show this weekend, so
very nice.
I might film something. Who knows?
Yeah, at least show us what's in the cases and everything. Show us kind of what.
Do a quick run through.
Dallas. Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to kind of see what kind of Topps living and Topps now they've got there, any vintage, not just your normal run-of-the-mill autos and relics and stuff, but some of the oddball stuff. It's always kind of fun. So how are you, Steph?
I have improved from my cold last week. I won't fall asleep this week. And show secret, if you guys find it, maybe there would be a surprise in your mailbox. And we're all but settled for moving, so we're doing pretty good. If my webcam would work, it would be 100% in there.
That'd be nice. I'd like to see your pretty face.
No, you don't.
I really don't. But I do have a picture of you in my wallet just for safekeeping. All right, so I do. I do.
Wallet card, right?
That's right. Yeah, I have a McGuire Puckett and Bo Jackson all stuck together. Just so shows how much. So the week that was Topps Living, week of November 1st through the 7th. That was the Topps' 34th week already. I mean, we're approaching a whole year of this. I mean, it's coming up closely. Last week's we had Babe Ruth at card number 100, Sandy Alcantara at 101, and Ender Inciarte at 102. I think we all kind of had an idea. I don't know, Steph, have you got a chance to take a look at what the final numbers were?
That's about what I expected, with Ruth being the obvious huge number. And the rookie being second, and the last person being the veteran, if you will, being in third place. I'm none too surprised.
Yeah, Babe Ruth came in at literally at 15,000. He was at 14,976, and then Alcantara was at 4,700, and Inciarte was at 46 and change. So they combined came just under 10 grand, about 9,300 for the pair.
So 102 was Victor Martinez.
Oh, Victor Martinez. Okay, I apologize.
We didn't roll that over from last week. Sorry, guys. The numbers are good, though.
The Victor Martinez, not Inciarte. We apologize for that error. Yeah. So, yeah, I think we were all kind of right around that 4 to 5 grand for the secondary guys.
Yep.
Babe Ruth, I know that the Topps Living stat on Twitter said he was right around 15,000, I think is what he predicted, and Ruth came in right at that number.
Yep. Pretty good prediction.
Yeah, if Ruth isn't going to get over 15, I don't see another guy coming close to 20. What about you?
No, I don't either. I think that may be the high through the rest of the offseason, unless they drop a major name, a Mike Trout, a Giancarlo Stanton.
Stanton's already been done.
But
Stanton was done in the 20s.
Well, if they alter their
Or you
rules
just-
to do a Marlin release or a Mike Stanton or barring something major like that, I don't see anything cracking maybe even 12.
The only three guys I would think that could come close to 15, this is just my personal opinion, would be Mike Trout, of course, which you mentioned, Mickey Mantle, and we know that they don't have the license for him, so he's not coming anytime soon. But just as far as name recognition goes,
Right, absolutely.
And then possibly the third one being Vladimir Guerrero Jr., possibly.
Maybe. I think they want to hold until next year at the earliest if he drops, if it gets called up.
Yeah, he'll be in season. I think Trout will probably be maybe the first big name of the 2019 season, especially if the rumors are true that, he might be on the block, or, if somebody came with like 4 or 5 top prospects, the Angels would be hard to pass. I mean, you definitely want to get him into that set before something happened like that.
Yeah.
So it'll be kind of interesting to see. I thought Ruth was going to hit a little closer to, I thought about 18 on the low end, honestly. I'm not surprised at 15. I think this set's kind of plateauing a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, sure, it's a Yankee, and it's Babe Ruth, so it's going to be a huge name. But 15, that's right where I thought at the max where it would hit. I was talking to Tubbs Living in DMs, and it definitely boosted the entire week in that it went to 8th overall. It's the first week to have a huge uptick in per card average since when Neshek had his cards.
Which, is interesting. This afternoon, I was getting into it with a couple guys on Twitter. We're just kind of going back and forth on a. Well, no, I mean, this was all G-rated. This was, when I said getting into it, I just mean we were discussing it and debating it like gentlemen.
Oh, no.
And ladies, because Jenny got in there too. So, but we were just kind of discussing, the fact that Gaddis is the more recent low print run, but Markakis is still down there in the mid 2000s. Where this set moves forward, and somebody had mentioned that Neshek doesn't count. And
yeah, I saw that.
What's kind of interesting about a comment like that is, I don't want to say he has to have an asterisk, but you almost have to look at his a little different, because we know he bought a bunch and artificially inflated the number. We know that it pulled a lot of new market segments in, people that are through the mail collectors and in-person collectors, because he is such a gracious member of the card collecting community that he signs anything and everything for his fans.
Yes, he does.
And
has for years.
Yeah, and I'm sure
him something off his rookie year, because I went to his opening game, his major league debut, as it were. And he's been through the mail signing since even before then, minor league age.
Yeah, you got to love a guy like that. And there's another point I want to bring up a little later in the show about another fellow major leaguer who's a card collector. But, with the Neshek numbers, it's kind of hard to gauge how much of that was real versus not. So you almost have to look at that as an outlier.
Sure.
Just like the Acuna number is so artificially inflated at 40 plus, like 47,000 or something stupid.
Right. It's a huge difference between all the regular rookies.
Yeah, it was one of those perfect storms of he was the right name at a time when, this product was still unknown. I don't see any rookie anytime soon, anybody eclipsing that. And if Babe Ruth can't come close to, he didn't hit half of it. If I'm not mistaken, Acuna was like at 47, which means Babe Ruth came in at a third.
Yep. Just gives you an idea of how ridiculous that 1 week was.
Yeah, and Jenny brought up a good point on Twitter today. She was mentioning that if you go to try to buy a lot of these cards, a lot of them are being sold in bulk. There he is. That's the guy that I was going to mention, Brad Ziegler, which we can get into in a few moments. But yeah, a lot of these are. I think a lot of sellers are just going to kind of recoup their internal rate of return, and just try to eat any losses and try to get to a break-even point. And it'll be interesting to see moving forward.
Try to make sure that they don't lose more just by holding on to it.
If you're on the fence, if you're not like somebody like Twins Jake who does everything Tops Now and Tops Living,
Right.
If you're just trying to get in there to make a return, is this the right product for you? And I think we're going to start seeing some of those prospectors and flippers, so to speak. I think we're going to start seeing quite a few of those kind of falling off the wayside, which is going to affect these print run numbers.
Oh, definitely. Jenny brought up a good question. Babe Ruth. What does Nolan Ryan sell in the set? And I mean, yeah, you have the 4 teams. Well, I guess it would depend which of the 4
exactly
teams he played for. Mets probably. I mean, yeah, you could draw the New York market, but he really wasn't a Met for too long. Angels, Rangers, and Astros.
Astros.
Yeah, I was getting there.
And I knew you'd get there.
He practically played for his entire career before I was born. So give me some credit, guys. But it would depend what team he's issued on. I mean, do you go with his last team, the one that he was the GM and a partial owner, I think, the Rangers, or do you go with like his best of days with the Angels and Astros? I don't see more than 12. If Ruth can't crack 15.
Yeah, and that's the thing is Nolan Ryan is always going to be the collectability is huge for him.
Sure.
And it always will be. But Ruth is an iconic name that transcends just baseball.
Yep.
Yeah, he's on the Mount Rushmore. I mean, I know we talked about that, was it last week or week before? He's on the Mount Rushmore of sports stars with Michael Jordan and, possibly, now Tom Brady. Obviously Gretzky, if you're just going to pick one from each of the sports, football is a little interesting, but you figure it's either Jordan or LeBron. It's definitely Gretzky, unless you want to go all the way back to Hull or something like that. I mean, who else would you even remotely consider? But it's definitely got to be Ruth.
Right.
With due respect to Mantle and Mays and some of the other greats. And that really speaks to his popularity. So yeah, if he hits 15, what would Nolan do? Especially when you have 4 teams to consider.
It's one of those transcending names where everybody and their mother was trying to do a end of the century mark best of athletes, and you see Jordan, you'd see Wilt, you'd see Babe Ruth, you'd see Gretzky, you'd see Jim Thorpe. But Babe Ruth was, and for the most part, in the top 5 of all of them. It's just one of those huge names that you can't deny. So I'm not surprised he sold 15. I'm kind of shocked that he didn't sell maybe a little bit more. But it is what it is.
So since we're on the topic of him, we discussed this a few weeks back about this exact thing: is do you do a second card? Now that we know that Ruth sold 15 as a Yankee, what's your if they came out a year from now with Ruth as
Boston
a
Brave?
Yeah, LA Dodger coach. I guess it wouldn't be LA, it'd be Brooklyn. But if they come out a year from now with Ruth, what do you think he'd sell as a Red Sox?
Not nearly as much as with the Yankees. If they wanted to jump that, especially with it being the 100-year mark of him being traded over, they should have led with the Red Sox. I don't see him choosing to do that maybe immediately, touching on his other teams that he played for and coached for, managed for. But
if he still sold 7 or 8?
Yeah, easily.
I mean,
you're drawing Hall of Fame collectors. You're drawing Boston people. You're probably drawing a few New York Yankee trolls.
I'd be all over it. I mean, I was talking to our friend Mark Hoyle a while back. He collects Jimmy Fox.
Yep.
And so he and I go back and forth all the time because it's
A's. Sure.
He collects him as a Red Sox. I collect him as an A, and we discussed this at length. Is if
I'll have to get a photo for you.
Yeah, if Fox comes out as a Red Sox, I'm still buying it because I've got a huge Jimmy Fox collection, and he said he'd still buy it as an A, and Lefty Grove is another Red Sox A from yesteryear that we went back and forth on as well. So you're still going to get Mark's money, you're still going to get Ben's money, still going to get quite a few people, and the I think Topps is missing a big market. You can get Machado on 3 cards, but you can't get Ruth on 2, and you can't get Nolan Ryan on potentially 4.
Right.
Over years. I mean, if this is a Topps Living set, cool. Then I'll have my 4 Nolan Ryan cards over the next 10 years. Every 2 years, you can drop one on me, and I'll be more than happy to spend my $5.
Yep. And especially in this market, there's huge range, and not just because Houston's only 6-ish hours away, but he also played just here in Arlington, 10 minutes that way. It just in the state of Texas, as is being Texas born, he would draw and sell for at least those T teams. Plus, probably you're going to have a fraction of those that are going to buy all 4 just because it's Nolan Ryan.
I don't collect Ryan, so I don't know enough to make this a definitive statement, but just casually looking through Triple Threads and Museum Collection and a lot of the higher end products where his autos and relics are prevalent, it seems to me every time I come across a Nolan Ryan, he's featured as a Houston Astro. Do you get that same sense?
I do. And I think there was some dirty break when he left the Rangers organization. I can't recall the details, but maybe that has something to do with it.
Yeah. It just doesn't seem like you see a whole – I mean, you'll see some of like the archive stuff with him featured as a Met because, you're going all the way back to kind of that whole 1968 era, 68, 69, where his dual rookie card and then his rookie cup the following year. It just seems like a lot of the more modern stuff, at least from what I see again, is based in Houston. I would imagine Topps Living would have him as an Astro first, maybe a Met second, then a Ranger, then an Angel, even though that's not how I would rank them. I just kind of see that being maybe their line of thinking.
Sure.
And it's unfortunate because he'd sell $6 or $7 most likely on all 4 teams if spaced out appropriately. So let's move on a little bit. Over the last week or so, we've got a few releases that have come out. Panini Prism Football came out the week of the 26th. Topps High Tech Baseball. Did you see any of the High Tech Baseball?
I have. Well, I mean, it's high tech, so you kind of know what you're getting as far as design wise. But I did watch a break, but I haven't personally bought in anything because, well, I'm not the high tech person.
Yeah.
But no, some of it looks kind of cool. It's just with the a topic that we'll be hitting later. How many different parallels there are, it's just tough.
Yeah, we get into that in just a little bit because I know that's going to be one of the things we touch on in Infield chatter. I like high tech. I like the acetate look. I really think it's a sharp product.
Sure. And they're sharp.
It's fun. Panini Flawless Basketball came out. Panini Flawless Baseball has recently come out. Higher end products, obviously, basketball has the license, baseball doesn't. But I think Panini does a really good job with some of their higher end baseball, whether it be Flawless or Museum,
sure,
Immaculate, featuring photos of players that don't necessarily. I think one of their best releases of more recent memory was the Cooperstown sets from like 12 and 13, because a lot of the Cal Ripkens, Tony Gwynn's, George Brett's, Ricky Henderson's, the guys from the late 70s on through the 90s, a lot of those photos, if I'm not mistaken, were all black and white, right, which I think kind of took away from the fact that you're not focused on the orange of Cal Ripken and the blue of Brett and the green of Henderson. It's black and white. It really melted well with, hey, I'm opening up a pack and I got a Cobb and a Fox and a Johnson and a Ripken. They look like they all went together. So, yeah, I think Panini does a really good job, more or less, especially on the higher end products. Maybe if it's a rookie or something, it's kind of like, hey, I'll wait for something with a logo. But for me, I think those are usually pretty good products. So hot off the press, I know we talk a lot of Topps Living on here. This afternoon they released this week's. This is going to be week 35, I believe now.
Yep.
Cards 103 through 105. 103 is Javier Baez, who had a phenomenal year. He's going to be the 6th Cub, if that's correct. Alex Vertigo came in at card 104. He's going to be the featured rookie, potentially on the move. There's a lot of rumors that if the Dodgers make a run at Real Muto, Vertigo would probably be the highlight of the prospects. The package is going back to Miami, so might see another Meadows. He's the 8th Dodger, and then we've got our 3rd Pirate, Ketel Marte. What are your thoughts on this overall class of 3?
Oversaturating, team wise. I don't see any of them cracking 6,000. Baez is a huge fan favorite, and yeah, he's a Chicago Cub. You all right?
Sorry about that.
You all right over there?
Yeah, I'm fine.
No, I've heard that Javier Baez is a huge fan favorite for the Wrigley faithful. And Verdugo, yeah, he's going to be a huge trade piece. And yes, he was just on the World Series losing Dodgers. But, yeah, like I said, I don't think any of them crack 6,000.
Yeah, Baez.
It's kind of a weak.
When you look at Martinez and what he did, you're getting in the mid 4s. You know, Chris Sale, Kershaw. Nobody's really done that well.
Sure.
And I know some of them are pitchers. Marte and Vertigo. I think Marte has a chance of slipping below 4. Vertigo should probably hit around 45 to 47 just because he's a rookie and he's got a bright future. Although they've got a log jam in LA right now in that outfield.
Right.
I've thought about buying Baez. I'm not sure. I'm kind of on the fence. He's in my cart on eBay at the moment. It's like it's only $5, but I'm not trying to collect the whole set. I'm only kind of picking and choosing. But Tim brought up a good point a while back. I think it was when I asked you guys about Joey Votto. Should I buy him? And Tim's point was, are you going to look back a year from now, assuming that they're unaffordable, to just go out and buy one? You're going to go, man, I should have bought him the week he was released. And, I'm trying to stick with hot prospects, but more or less guys that potentially could be Hall of Famers or multi-year All-Stars.
Sure.
And I know Baez is young, and he's got a bright future. So it's kind of like, maybe not go to Starbucks tomorrow and pick him up,
Or just go to Starbucks.
Yeah.
So, somebody in chat brought up Ketel Marte, and it was a point that I was meaning to bring up. It's just not a great photo.
I didn't like it either, and I didn't like that he's a Diamondback. I think we said Pirates earlier. I apologize. Not a fan of his hat either.
No.
It's to me. I mean, if you look at that hat and you cover up the bottom half of the card, if you're not familiar, if you're just a casual fan, do you know who that is, and do you know what team he plays for?
Well, and that's the thing that I was going to bring up. I mean, if you blur out the hat and the logo, no offense to the artist, but I mean, you wouldn't be able to tell him from any other Joe Schmo schlub off the street.
Yeah,
it's just not. And maybe it's an issue with this portrait set in that they're not action shots. Unfortunately, I wish maybe they'd branch into that eventually. But they're just uninspiring, I guess.
Our friend who runs the Tops Living Set Twitter handle, he brings this up quite a bit when we get into these discussions and debates. And one of the things he said is it's the photo selection. The Marte illustration that she did, I mean, it's phenomenal. It's great artwork. It's just a poor photo selection, at least in my opinion. And I think that's kind of piggybacking on the point you're making is, a lot of people had that with when Yelich came out a few weeks ago. Ryan McMahon, I think, was also part of that same set of 3, maybe it was a week before, a week after. But there have been a few. I know that you personally had made a comment, I believe, on Twitter or to us privately that you weren't a fan of the photo that they selected for Babe Ruth, for instance. I think that's going to be the biggest downfall. It's not the artwork. It's not the collectability. A lot of it is what drew me to buy more than the Oakland A's were Ted Williams, and the
Sure.
beauty behind the Ted Williams card was phenomenal. And Jackie Robinson was great. And Ichiro, our friend Ryan Cracknell said that, that might be the card of the year in his opinion. And next thing you know, I bought 7 or 8 of the veterans, Hank Aaron and a few of the other guys, Bo Jackson. And it was because the photos were great.
Right. And it's gorgeous photography, and it's a really well done tribute to 53 Tops. And the artwork is great, like you said, but it's just poor photo selection. I mean, one of the reasons I love some of the vintage sets, for example, great photo selection.
Yeah.
Even if that's staged. 53 Bowman here, Pee Wee Reese.
So let me show something to anybody that's watching, a card that I recently picked up. Our friend who runs Bean's baseball card blog, Ken Kinsley, big vintage guy. He's got me into a lot of tobacco cards. He and I talk quite frequently about tobacco cards, and
if
inspired
you're
by
to the show this weekend, Ken, I'll have your boxes.
Yeah, hey, and do a live on location with Ken. That'd be a perfect time to grab him and pick his ear and make sure you talk to him about tobacco. But I'm going to show a card here that I picked up a week or two ago. It's a 1910 Mecca Cigarettes billiards card. The coloring is fantastic. I know it might not come through that well, but the green felt.
Oh, no, it is right now.
And then I'm also going to show you a couple other cards I've picked up. These are Opera Houses. And again, what makes these cards, this boxing card, also 1910 Mecca Cigarettes, what makes these cards fantastic is they're just cool looking cards to me.
Right. It's the artwork. And
the artwork is great. And there's other Mecca Cigarette boxing cards that I look at and go, I'm not buying it because the image on it isn't something that I'd like to have in my collection. And the reason that I show these and bring this up is, it's the illustrations. It goes right in line with the 1953 Top set.
Right.
So if you're buying these because you're building the set, great. You're going to buy them all anyway. But if you're only buying these, that bias card doesn't jump out to me. It doesn't say, man, that's a good looking card. And I'm buying it just because of the subject and not because of the enjoyment I would get out of having that as part of my collection. And I think the Marte, he's already going to struggle because he's not a very big name. Arizona Diamondbacks are not the most collectible. So you've got a lot of
the least collectible. They're not the Tampa Bay Rays or anyone, but yeah,
if you're ranking them in segments, top 6, or excuse me, top 5, next 5, you got 6 separate segments. They're in that bottom 5, right? Yeah. They're with the Rays and the Marlins, and maybe the Brewers, who I'm, I've always had a affinity for the Brewers, but they're just not very collectible.
For what it's worth, Marte's the second Diamondback.
Yeah. We apologize. We had some late notes, and so
AJ Pollock, card number 15, was the previous.
And now would have been a good time, I don't know, maybe to put Patrick Corbin in a Diamondbacks uniform before he becomes a New York Yankee. But we can get back into that here in just a little bit. We can move on to a couple other things. Topps Triple Threads officially released today. It's kind of like everything kind of comes out a little bit here and a little bit there. We're not going to touch too much on Triple Threads because we're going to get into that a little bit more in depth in a moment with Infield chatter. But there are 100 base cards with countless autographs and countless relics, and every
about $200 a box, 2 packs per the box, 7 cards per pack. Probably going to get 2 autos, 2 relics, 6 base and 6 base parallel per box break.
Gotcha.
Nothing to write home about unless you hit the 1 of 1 that someone hit earlier, which I'll pull up here.
It's not a terrible price point if you're a casual hit collector. If you're looking for a product that's going to give you a decent amount of hits at a reasonable price point.
Sure.
When I used to help run a local card shop, I always enjoyed museum collection and Triple Threads being open because more or less, there was decent value, and it was a fun open, and it wasn't terribly expensive like, say National Treasures and some of those other ones, Flawless, some of the ones that get into the $500, $600, $700 range.
I kind of equate it to a slightly more premium Diamond Kings in that it's 4 times the price, but you have a little bit better odds of getting someone a little bit better. It's not for everyone. The hit chasers are kind of there, and you're not guaranteed anything per se. They've been retweeting images all day here. Naturally, that's a really nice looking patch card for Orioles. That's what Chris Davis maybe. No, Jonathan Shoup.
All I'm seeing is a Tops Now thing.
Did it free? Oh shoot, wrong one. Ha! Helps if we do it right. Boop boop boop.
There you go. Yeah, no, that's a pretty. Those book cards. I've seen a lot of white whales hit today. Quite a few. In fact, I'm still waiting on just a regular old base McGuire to come up. I haven't looked in the last couple of hours, but as of earlier, it's like I'd seen 12 or 13 white whales and 0 McGuires, which kind of almost speaks to a product like this. You're probably going to see all the white whales and the triple patch autos and all the books start hitting eBay first for people to try to recoup their money.
Yep.
And then by Friday, Saturday, you'll start to see all the bases, the $2, $3, throwaway cards
start to pedal out.
Yeah.
Albies, Andrew Jones, and Ronald Acuna, numbered 1/1. Definitely not your retail pack relic either. Slightly better patches in their set. If you like high end, you like taking a chance. It's a set for you. It's not a set for me, or I think probably not even Ben or Tim. But
I picked up a Piscotti and a Matt Chapman auto.
Well, no, but I mean,
today.
You don't go out and actually buy a box.
No, it cost me $24 shipped for the two of them. They were both numbered out of 75. $10 a piece with $4 to ship, so average of $12 each. That's where I'm at. In fact, I didn't put any of the A's cards on my want checklist. I just put the names of who were featured in the product.
Sure.
And if I get around to getting them, if they're a fair price point, I'll grab them. If not, then I'll take them off the checklist in a couple of weeks and move on. This is definitely a product, though, and we've talked about it, that is usually released a little earlier. Late spring, early summer, maybe. A couple of years back, it was released as early as March and April. Right. And I think that's more in line with both the price point, coming off of Flawless and 5-star. I don't see this product really needs to be released 6 months ago, at least in my opinion.
And because I went back and looked in the last several years, it seemed to be a August, September, October release window. And maybe that's something they look into like towards the All-Star break, just before it, June, July.
I think they're trying to make this a higher end product than it already is, and I think it's a mid-tier product. It's a hit-driven product, but it's higher end than a lot of the base-related products.
Right.
But it's lower than what they're trying to shoot for. They're going to either have to add more value and let it try to compete with 5-star, or they're going to have to send it back 3 to 4 months, and try to get it in the dead of summer.
Sure.
Timothy would be excited. Panini Donruss basketball released today, and it's 2018, 2019. Are we sure that's not a misprint? We've had a couple of mistakes today. So yeah, you're gonna have all of this year's rookie class. Now we've had about 2 weeks, 3 weeks of basketball. Most teams, I think, have played right around 10 games, give or take. So we've had a few weeks of basketball now to kind of soak it in and see, who the guys that are gonna, meet their potential,
or whether their entire team shows up every week, every day.
Yeah, who's going to be this year's Jason Tatum, but we're also going to hopefully see who this year's Donovan Mitchell is, a guy that was taken a little later in the draft.
Absolutely.
Who might surprise some people. So, starting to get some of that 18-19 product out, and Donruss is, I know Steph and I are both big fans of Donruss, the overall look, old school Donruss.
Sure.
From baseball in the 80s, but Donruss football is always a solid product. Donruss basketball is good. So
baseball as well.
Yeah, non-licensed, but we love it. $95 a box, 10 packs a box, 30 cards a pack. You're going to get 2 autographs, roughly 60 inserts or parallels, 200 card base set, 160 of those being base, with the final 40 being rated rookies. And then there are 2 short prints, both of whom are the mound round of Rebound. Charles Barkley, one is a Sixer and one is a Sun. Apparently they couldn't. Why not do 203 and put him as a Rocket?
Or do 5, like 2 Sixers, a Rocket, a Sun.
Yeah, something like that. That would have been great. You could have featured him as a Sun and
seems weird.
Yeah. Do a 5-card set. Why not? Lots of inserts. We won't get into all of them, but if basketball is your thing, it looks like they've got 10, about 15 different insert sets, 8 autograph sets, and 2 mem sets. So there's plenty.
One that I like in particular, you naturally it's Panini, so you've got Gridiron Kings, Diamond Kings, and Rookie / in this set, Court Kings. But Swishful Thinking.
That's kind of a fun
name.
Like
the name of it. Yeah. It's not a regular retro series certified. It's just kind of different. They're playing with it. I like it.
I almost went to UCLA on a basketball scholarship way back machine in the 90s. But I'd spent all my summer days on a basketball court. One of the insert sets is called Winner Stays. It's kind of like that old put your quarter on the arcade machine. I got next. You and your squad would go out there. Yeah, first thing in the morning, you got your 5, and other 5s would come, and it was one of those things. My 5, Winner Stays. And if you lost, then you have to get in the back of the line with your quarter ready. I got next, and if you had a solid 5, you'd be out there balling all day, sun up to sundown. So Winter Stays, I haven't seen the product, but that could be a very fun. Yeah, while you're looking for that, this week coming up tomorrow, it looks like we have Upper Deck Series 1. That's flagship. Am I correct for them?
Yes, Series 1.
So that's a pretty big.
The same as Series 1 and Series 2 in baseball. And the NHL and Upper Deck do a Series 1, Series 2 for hockey.
So how big is that, would you say, in comparison to flagship baseball?
It's for hockey fans, for Canadians, for Minnesotans, it's the release.
Gotcha.
I mean, you have the Cup and some of these other slightly more higher end products, but it's essentially the first major release of the year. You got your first chance at some of the rookies that called up late last year. And I've seen some shops, if you go in and purchase a certain amount, they have promo of Gritty, the Flyers' new mascot.
Yeah, he's making his rounds quite a bit on Twitter.
Right.
A lot of people were dressing up for him for Halloween and stuff like that. And
I know we touched on it last a few episodes back in the Young Guns. That's their rookie card insert, quote unquote, set. Super huge. And look for those. I know it's their one major thing that everyone looks for. That's
exciting. Yeah, I'm in love with a lot of hockey cards. When I used to be at the LCS, people would come in. There was one guy that would do a live on location podcast type, vlog or whatever, and he'd open up whatever the hockey's new release was and kind of give it a card design, card stock, so on and so forth, return, and rate everything on a scale of 1 to 5 or 1 to 10. I forget, but it was a lot of fun watching just as a card. I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, right? No matter what you collect, I only collect Ace cards, but I still enjoy looking at cards,
other stuff
of all sports, because at the end of the day, when we talk about the Topps Living be beautiful artwork, that's what all this stuff is.
Right.
The overall design of the card and the choice of the photos, it all captures a moment in time. and that's what's really fun. I think, for us that enjoy the history of the cards and collecting, my son had picture day as a preschooler the other day, and he had just a stoic look on his face, just a blank stare. And I told him, I said, these are going to hang on my wall forever. And afterwards, he tells me, Dad, you're going to hate my picture, and it's going to hang on your wall forever. But my mom always told me, because, one time I had a bruise on my face as a kid, and she was upset. And my pediatrician had said, hey, it captures a moment in time. That's what he looked like that day, that year.
Yep.
And that's what's fun about card collecting is no matter how you pick and choose what sports and what teams and what players you pursue, it's capturing a design, a piece of art that, and maybe the switchful thinking are pretty nice. It looks like it's probably going to be a, Ray Allen, probably Reggie Miller and stuff, I would imagine, are on that checklist.
Let's see. Up to
Probably
10 cards. Larry Bird, Klay Thompson, Kyle Lowry, Reggie Miller, Ray Allen, Steve Kerr, James Harden, Paul George, Steph Curry, and Kemba Walker.
So some of the greats from yesteryear of three-point shooters, as well as some of the iconic ones from today.
It doesn't look like they have the winner stays preview.
They got a Tim Duncan. Maybe I'll have to pick it up just for the sake of picking it up. So yeah, Upper Deck Series 1 hockey comes out tomorrow. So good for hockey fans. They get their flagship. Probably an exciting time for hockey collectors. 18-19 Panini Certified comes out next week. 2018 Topps WWE Then, Now, and Forever comes out next week. All these on the 14th. And then 2018 TriStar Quest Live. What sport is that?
If I'm not mistaken, that's one of their auto memorabilia, whatnot giveaways.
Kind of like an Onyx type thing.
Let's see. Well, so TriStar has a, like, you don't, kind of like the baseball whatnots, where you open up the package, it has a little slip that tells you, hey, you just won a jersey, or hey, you just won a helmet, or this, that, or the other. I think that's what this is, but let me make sure. 5 premium autograph memorabilia is live in every, so it's a memorabilia
Gotcha.
whatnot.
Gotcha.
Products inside the case. Nice. Very limited redemption. Some of the hot hits, in quote unquote, Roger Maris framed cut signature and photographs. Elvis Presley matted cut auto. 1953 Dodger multiple sign ball, including Jackie Robinson, Campanella, Gil Hodges, and Pee Wee Reese. Tom Brady limited edition multiple inscription full-sized helmet. Notre Dame 4 Horsemen framed cut. Muhammad Ali, James Harden, Joe Montana, Carrie Fisher, and Peter Mayhew autographed photo. Ken Griffey Jr., Mickey Mantle, Willie Mays, Duke Snyder. So not a not a bad lineup there.
So it's really for the collector and not necessarily the card collector. It's
then Eddie Vedder's autographed Versus album.
What's the price point on that?
Let's see. This is a by case only, so it's probably going to be a bit high. And this is.
Gotta figure it's probably 2,500 somewhere in there.
I would assume. I know that at the National, their other stuff, 1 box, 1 pack, 5 mem, doesn't have. Yeah, so they may not even have the price listed.
We'll see if we can get into that. All that stuff releases next week on the 14th, so next Wednesday. So maybe we'll see a little bit of that and can tweet out a couple of pictures and stuff and discuss it on next week's show. And hopefully we'll have a price point. Not that you or I or probably a whole lot of our listeners will be in on something like that, but that'd be probably something. I always get a kick out of watching the mini helmets I've mentioned before being opened and the jerseys. That'd probably be something that would be fun to kind of geek out on just for the sheer awe factor.
Well, and in that they're selling it per case, it'd be interesting to see somebody do a snake draft of, hey, random. Okay, you get the first item. Well, you get the best one, obviously. But that seems like a product that's just geared for that. You can't sell per sport or per whatnot.
Best is subjective.
Sure. That's
years
just in my quick opinion. Seeing
years ago, 2012 National Treasures came out, and I was just getting into baseball cards hardcore again, and 8 cards in a pack, $500. So they sold each slot at $60.
Sure.
I think I got the 3rd or 4th pick, and there was like a button card and big. I think I got a Brooks Robinson out of 10 or something like that, which
Nice.
isn't necessarily my money back, but it's darn close. But had there been a cool, athletics card, because obviously there's stuff from Philadelphia in there as well, I'd have been hard pressed to pass on that in favor of a card that would be considered better by others.
Sure.
So yeah, best is subjective to what you collect. I mean, for somebody, they might say that Jackie Robinson baseball is not nearly as cool as an Eddie Vedder signed record. Are you looking at it from the monetary side, or are you looking at it from what am I going to hang on my wall?
Yeah. It's I just saw one other note. They're sold per case, and there's only 50 cases, so that's going to be an expensive product.
Yeah, it'd be hard to see. Yeah, I bet it wouldn't surprise me if that's not like the 12 to 15,000 kind of pushing that transcendent price point. Right. So that's what's brewing for next week. We can get into that stuff. Also on the horizon on the 23rd is Stranger Things Hobby. I know retail is already out, so we'll get into that here in a couple of weeks as well. Our Infield chatter, which is our hobby talk section, we kind of mentioned a few different things on the top. Let's kind of reference that Brad Ziegler. Sure. For people that didn't see the tweet or don't follow Brad, he tweeted at eBay stating that there was a listing that he found that was fraudulent, literally saying, "Hey, this is not my autograph. Can you please, remove the listing and suspend that seller?" And by the time I saw it and clicked the link, it had already been removed.
Nice.
And eBay had reached out to him, basically thanking him for his,
due diligence.
Yeah, diligence, and a lot of us were kind of laughing because one of the other auctions that seller had listed was a Zach Greinke, who infamously doesn't like to sign for anything anybody.
Right.
And so it was a really, really bad attempt at a forged auto, and it wasn't even selling for that much. I forget what it was. It was only like $1 or $2. But it just kind of goes to show you what people are willing to do to defraud, potential
that's
buyers.
Why the 20 and the 100s and the $50 bills aren't the most forged ones. It's the 1s and 5s because nobody thinks to look at it.
Exactly. Oh, absolutely.
Not saying that Brad isn't a huge, it doesn't have his niche within the collect hobby. But sometimes those $1-2 pieces, nobody thinks to check.
Yeah, and if you're out there looking for Ziegler, and obviously who he is, if you're out there, specifically searching for him,
sure,
you're going to know he signs, and then you're going to just think, all right, the market, has an excess, maybe flooded is the right term, and let me go grab one because it's $3, it's in my price range, and you're probably, like you said, not going to suspect otherwise,
right?
So we just want to kind of mention that since we referenced that earlier in the show. So a couple of the bullet points. Let's inserts, relics, and autos. How many can be included on a checklist before the checklist in the set is considered to be bloated?
I think there's a fine line that the manufacturers have to toe. It depends on the type of product. So for like triple threads, you obviously want more relic cards versus base cards. And likewise for like 2018 honors, you're going to want more base cards versus relics.
Sure.
Now, sure, you're going to want your chance to pull something great, something auto, this, that, or the other. However, that's just not the set for that. Not saying it isn't, just an example. But, when you're going through a checklist and there's 28 pages and 26 of them are all auto relics.
Yeah.
Maybe cut back from these 3rd, 4th starts, maybe one game every couple days infielders or the relief pitcher autographs. No offense, guys.
Yeah, I'm going to mention Sonny Gray, some years ago, 2015 or so.
Peter O'Brien.
The way that Triple Threads does it is they'll have, a 8, 10, 12 piece relic spelling something out. And then they number them 1 of 1, and you got your white whale, and then you got one of 3 out of 9 out of 18, 27, and 36.
Sure.
And they would say the relic would spell out chance of rain for Sonny Gray, playing off of his name, Rain and Sun, and then it would say sunny side up. Again,
Sure.
you're doing a pun on his name, and then it would be sunny rises and things like that. But they have like 6 versions, all saying something else. And I had super collected Cespedes up to 2014, and I had to get them all because that's just the mindset of a completionist and somebody that super collects. But it's like, do you need? I got one auto relic that says Chance of Rain. Do I have to have the other 3 or 4 or 5? And then they do that for Sonny Gray, and then they also did it for Cespedes, and they also did it for Donaldson and Marcus Semien. And it's like, at what point do I? Today I mentioned earlier I picked up a Piscotti and a Matt Chapman that is kind of a vertical relic, decent size with an auto.
Yep.
If I come across another one of both, but it's a different design or a different photo, do I have to have them? Years ago, I'm going to show you these 2 cards here on my desk from museum collection. These are books of Cespedes. So it's a 4-color patch. Look, the 4 patches are white, and the picture is yellow. And then I'm going to slide this one in front of it because it's the same card. The patch is a little different, but it's a different photo of them. They're both out of 10, and at the time, both of these cost me upwards of $100 a piece. But again, as a completionist, I had to have them both, and they're both beautiful. But do you really
back up for 1 second?
Do you really need them both?
No. Personally, not saying that you're bordering on OCD at that point, and mind you, that's a clinical term. But there's a certain cutoff where the companies have to think, well, but this one has this one has one of the 4 patches with a different color, and this one has 2 of the patches with a different color, and this one has 3, and then here's an all-white version. The only time I've seen that done well, there was a set that Upper Deck produced, I want to say early 2000s, that's instead of doing that, they had the logo or whatever it was, and then per parallel it added an extra patch into the name of the set. I think it was like Upper Deck Cuts. Okay. So like at number 99 you only got the UD patch, but then at number 49 you got UD and C, and then at 25 you got UD, C, and the U. And that was different. It was nice at the time. But there's a thin line there where, as you just showed, how much is too much?
Well, see, and then there's this one that I picked up at a LCS this week. It's a tier 1 from this year, Mark McGwire in the Cardinals uniform. And the only reason I picked it up was I was at a card shop and I had to justify driving out there. But he's got a single patch, right?
Right.
Well, I'm okay with, there's also a version, I believe, and I don't know on this particular card, but a lot of times they'll have a double patch and then even a triple patch with the parallels. I'm okay with that if you want to go that direction, because now if I collect all 3 of them, I have one card with a single, a dual, and a triple.
Sure.
But I don't need all of them to say something else. It's ridiculous. As it is, I'm collecting the base McGwire, and then you've got to get the gold and the sapphire and the emerald and the amethyst, and it's like a Crayola box of 64 different colors, and they're all named something, but you can't really tell the difference between the 5 reds in the box.
Right.
But they all have a different name on the side. It's like
magenta, maroon.
I wanted to get into high tech because we also referenced this.
Yep.
The difference between the waves and the lightning. I picked up a couple of the different refractors, whatever they want to call them, the variations, parallels of both Matt Olson and Reggie Jackson, because really I hadn't bought anything in a couple of weeks of substance, so I was kind of itching to buy something.
Sure.
And they're all a couple of bucks a piece. You know, they had one for 150, and the next one was 250, and for a $20 bill, picked up 5 Reggie Jacksons. But the difference in them are so subtle that I'm literally going to have to look at the eBay listing when they come to determine how I'm going to put them in my database, because
Right.
I'm not going to remember. It's different when you're looking at an actual color rainbow of a card, and
Well,
you
this
know,
one's orange, this one's red, this one's green, this one's.
yeah, I just happen to have a rainbow here of the 1983 silver pack Daniel Mengden, which I'll show. But if the lighting comes through, okay, you'll see that the first one is your base, the second one is the orange out of 25, gold out of 50, then you have blue, or pardon me, purple out of 75, green out of
Purple,
99,
green,
and
blue. Yeah.
blue. So, you know, I can tell the difference because I can tell the difference in the colors. A lot of these are so subtle that it really is ridiculous. And the more of these they add, like you said, 24, 26, 28 pages, and there's 100 cards in the base set that nobody wants anyway. I mean, when I say nobody, it's the people that are buying it most likely aren't buying it to get those base cards out.
So I
You know,
found an example of what I was talking about. SP Legendary Cuts.
that was a beautiful set. That was like
Pack
from
number
'04.
'07. This one is.
Okay,
But at the 99 level, you got 3 patches. But at the 150 level, you only got C and U.
gotcha.
And then all the way down, so probably number to 50 you get, or number to 25 you get the S.
Yeah, and I'm good with that. And the other thing is on these patches as well is you see some of these lower end flagship relics that come out with just a single patch, and it's white. And then you might
Right.
get one that's, as an A's fan, you might get one that's a yellow or a green, and then you might get a gray. Do you have to have all of them? You know what I mean? I picked up an extra.
As a team collector, just even a player collector, yeah, maybe. Yeah, do you really even need them to begin with? I guess is the honest question.
Do we need any of this stuff to begin with?
Well, no, but
But we do.
what I mean is, if you're going to collect, say, the Killer Brew that I just had up, it's nice to have the base version, but do I really need the number to 150, the number to
Right.
100, the number to 50? Probably not. But if I can find it for $5, like I think I found that one, yeah, sure, I'll pick it up.
Like the McGuire, I wasn't gonna buy it. Right now, there's one on eBay that got listed this morning for $15. I was in the showcase the other day. They had a McGuire for rookie card 85.
Did they have you come on down?
they had the USA rookie for $10, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm here, and I got my dad with me, and Tim met me at the shop, so it's like, yeah, I'm gonna buy that, and bought a '62 Mickey Mantle while I was there, and they got the McGuire relic for $5. It's a Cardinal. All right, he's got to come home with me for $5. For 10, I probably would have left it in the case. You know what I mean? So, moving on to Tops Living, our friend Tops Living Stat put out a poll a couple of days ago asking, I believe, basically the question was, when will it end? And if I wasn't lazy, I'd call up the Twitter account of his and come up with the 4 answers that he had posted. I believe he had his options were: will it end in the calendar year, which would be the last Wednesday of this year, which is the 26th of December. That was one option.
Consider year one.
Yeah, the end of year one. Would it be card 156, which would complete a calendar year? Would it be the final release prior to the beginning of the year, so the end of spring training? And what was the other one?
So you got last Wednesday in 18, so 12/26/18. Spring training starts / February, card number 156, 3/6/2019, or other.
Okay. Did you vote in this poll?
I believe so. I said at the end of the year. Barring having a week 52 reset to maybe 54, it just made the most sense.
I originally put the end of spring training, which would kind of end the 2018 year.
Sure.
But after I clicked on it, I was like, no, it'd probably be the end of the year. Even though it's an abbreviated year, that happens, right? A lot of TV shows.
We agree on a thing.
Yeah, it has maybe like a 6 show. I mean, I'm a big fan of The Office, right?
Sure.
Season 1 of The Office had 6 episodes. It was a mid-season replacement, and they ordered 6 episodes. And then season 2 was the first full season. So this was released in March. Therefore, it's not going to get 156 in the first calendar, or the first, fiscal year for Tops. It's I guess it goes like this. I would assume that the first release of January is going to have a print date of 2019 on the bottom of it.
Probably.
So therefore, there's your first card of 2019. Therefore, it's the official second year. But the way Topps is selling this is there are no years.
And see, that's what I was thinking, was that it goes with copyright. I mean, even when I was a kid and I was sorting cards that were either gifted to me or my dad had lying around, or a factory set, when I wanted to learn more than just what it said as far as the text information, and thank you 1990 Score for a ton of information that nobody needed to know. But you could go back and look and see, well, Carlton Fisk played these years. The last date is for the 89 season, so this must be a 1990 set. Well, in very small print, it said copyright 1990. So these, and Topps won't have it. I'm sure Topps won't have an official announcement. But if it's going to be a copyright 2018, copyright 2019, well, there's your split. To me, that's what makes sense.
Right. And this one is one of those outlier sets where, because it is an indefinite, lasts forever set.
Sure.
The end point and the beginning point from year to year is kind of irrelevant. It's going to have continuous numbering. So it's a set that never ends until it ends.
Were you around, I want to say, turn of the decade, 2009, 2010, somewhere in there? Topps did a program where it wasn't in an individual box or an individual set, but these relics or autos or whatever it was that I'm trying to think of were in each of the individual products throughout the year.
I don't recall that. So yeah, it was probably right before I got back into collecting.
But they stopped it at the end of the year. So the program didn't stop because they wrapped it around the end next year. I'm not saying that they're complete parallels, because this is such a different program that they're going through. However, I would say that the year ends when the calendar year ends. I mean,
it
makes the most sense. I mean, the other answers had merit, but nah.
It really is a moot point because it's a set that never ends.
Sure.
Right. Our friend Jenny, who you can find at Jenny Miller 521 on Twitter, if you're not already following her, brought up a point in our chat room a little bit ago. If we'll see a similar set for football or basketball, we'll go ahead and include hockey as well. My answer to her in the chat room was no, because they don't have the same lineage and history of baseball. So you're not going to capture the interest of those collectors in the same way. What are your thoughts? I mean, obviously, Topps doesn't have a license, so there's that.
It's not going to be Topps.
But would you see a set that never ends? Because you saw Panini come out with the Huddle app, and to counter Topps bunt, and they've got the Player of the Day cards for a while, like Topps
and
now.
And has EPAC.
Yeah, so
I could see it. Only in that you have hockey in the original 6 era would draw some interest. Football has its drawings back to the 40s and the 20s and even further back. But historically speaking, baseball is just tied to the nostalgia and the history of the game. I don't think they would do as well. They could be done.
Sure. Are you going to commission an artist renderings?
No, it would have to be like a Topps all-time fan favorites. I don't know if you're doing those. Literally turn of the century, 2002, 2003, somewhere in there. kind of like the Topps Archives. I think that's kind of what enveloped it. But it was a set where they would have all the different players and random designs, but they were done just like the regular card with a nice card stock.
I could see basketball doing a top 100 players. I mean, I know it was back in 1998 or something like that, 99 tops, or excuse me, the NBA did top 50 players of all time. And there were a couple of young players like Shaq and I think Shaq was the first or real young one. But then you had guys like Kobe and Tim Duncan and Dirk and Kevin Garnett and everything that had come on right after. And it's like, well, those guys at this point would have to be on the top 50. So who are you taking off, from the legendary guys of yesteryear? And I could see basketball, football, and hockey all doing a 100-card set.
Sure.
99 card set, something like that. In a multiple of 3.
Sure.
And releasing them weekly. But I think it's a finite set. It's not a continuous, never-ending set. It wouldn't work. I don't think it would last very long.
Right.
I think it would have to be, hey, for the next 30 weeks, we're going to release 3 cards, and it'd be the top 90 players.
Yeah, throughout the season,
of all time,
each week of the season,
something like that. I think it could work in a different environment, But when we can't even agree on what flagship is considered for football, it'd be really hard to go back into the annals of the sport and pull out a popular set. Baseball could have picked 52. They could have picked 53, 56. 57 is one of the ones I hate, but I know that it's popular amongst collectors.
Sure.
62, 65.
55 Bowman.
71, 55 Bowman. Yeah, 71 tops.
75 tops.
75 would be interesting. I know it's hated. But 80's good looking, 84, 85, 86, 87. I mean, they had so many years that they could have chose,
81.
You could do a Sweet 16 and probably leave 1 or 2 or 3 popular sets out.
Sure.
So interesting to kind of think about, but I don't think it would work. I think we all kind of agree on that. And one of the other things we wanted to talk about were the new lithographs that Topps released last week. I believe they released the first 5. They were all numbered out of 100, although there were short print ones that were numbered out of. Were they just 1 of 1s?
Yeah, it's just 1 of 1 out of 100, and numbered 100.
And then they were different price points depending on the player. I believe they were were from some players were 30, some were 40, and some were 50, right?
Ohtani was 100, Derek Jeter is 70, and then the other 3, Russell Martin, Jackie Bradley Jr., and Nick Markakis, were $29.99 each.
And they were 11 by 14s?
I believe so. Yep.
And so you had your choice if you could get one of those 1 of 1s. So we knew stuff like this was going to happen. This is what kind of leads me personally to believe that you're going to see a change in some of their rules as whether or not these historical guys are going to be able to be featured on multiple cards.
Sure.
And whether or not we're going to start seeing autos and parallels. They're selling the lithographs now. And they should, because why not? I mean, Topps is there to make money.
Yep.
But there were a couple that did not sell through, correct?
As of the notes, Jeter just sold out. So the only two that sold out of the 5 are the top 2 most expensive, the Derek Jeter, which surprise, and Ohtani.
Yeah, but the first week I think had a couple that didn't sell out. Is that correct?
I thought this was the first week. No, I guess
no.
not.
The first week would have had Judge and Joe Panic and
all of those.
Castellanos and stuff.
Sold out either.
Yeah, I think there was somebody. I was looking earlier and I couldn't find the numbers, but somebody said that 3 of the 5 had sold out, and he asked what's going to happen with the other. Are they just going to put them in a drawer, or are they no longer out of 100?
Right.
My thought was they might hold on to them and eventually put them up at Topps Vault at auction.
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming that they're going to print 100, because it's a pre-printed number. So 100 of them will be printed. And if you bought one, you will have one of 100. And if 10 of them didn't sell through Topps, they're going to eventually hit the secondary market, or they're going to be a featured product, maybe a giveaway at next year's National.
Sure, I could see that.
It's going to be, they'll be doing one of those Topps giveaways during the Topps hour. Hey, where they give away different vintage cards.
Fine print arts. So last week, the number to ones, number 100, number to 100, number to 100, number to one. Where's last week's?
I didn't see last week's on Topps.com earlier. I was looking.
Yeah, it looks like they pulled them.
So if that information is correct from one of our Twitter followers, it'll be kind of interesting to keep an eye on, whether or not this stuff does sell through or not. And then, of course, where it goes if they don't sell.
Where it appears, yeah.
So, but, are you planning on, if they, assuming that they release a Puckett or a Killebrew, are you planning on running out? I know they released Mauer. Are you going to go grab the Mauer for $30?
This is one of those. Well, of course, naturally, they make it to $99.99. But this is one of those where it's like, how much is too much from Topps? Especially some of the print to order stuff. Topps Living and Topps now have a thin enough margin as is, but when you're tossing in limited parallel type stuff like this, because Topps has been doing this for the past several years, where they have 8x10, 10x11s numbered to certain price points, or like spring training sets where it celebrates the 30th anniversary of the 87 set, 87 World Series winners, for example. Am I going to go out and run and get them? Probably not.
Yeah.
I'll look to either pick them up cheaper from someone else, or wait until they hit the secondary market and maybe pick them up. It's not really a base card, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's a memorabilia, ephemeral, nice to have, but probably don't want to chase it.
They've done 5 A's in this set. I'm not getting Dustin Fowler. I'm not getting Sean Bonilla. I'm not getting Jed Lowry, and I'm not getting Matt Olson. So that leaves the 5th one being Ricky Henderson.
Sure.
And if he's $30, I'd consider it. If he's $40, probably maybe 50-50. And if he's $50 or more expensive, I'm not getting it, because now you've got to get a frame for it. You've got to find a spot on your wall to hang it. And it's neat. I do have some of the 5x7 cards that they released that are out of 49. Kind of pick and choose, grab them if they're cheap. But this would be neat to have. But again, how much of this stuff, what happens if the set goes on forever and then they end up doing McGuire and Canseco and other guys I'd also want, because I already have Henderson, so I need the other one.
Sure.
To me, this just reeks of something that people are going to grab and kind of stick away, and then you'll see this stuff kind of flood the market down the road when it's scarce, and people are going to try to get a multiplier of 3, 4, 5 times their initial investment.
Personally, I found that stuff like this, the oversized stuff, the magazines, the stuff that's not just a regular base card, they just end up in a 9-pocket page, but a standard sheet protector magazine holder stuffed in a 3-ring binder and put on a shelf.
And that's the other thing is,
what do
you have $50 to spend right now. On the board is a Harmon Killebrew 11x14 from the Topps Living set, or on the table is anything else in a 2.5x3.5 size and multiples thereof. Team sets, autos and relics,
2015 Diamond Kings.
Yeah, it's like that's what's going to go with what I collect. Yeah, it's like, why? I mean, we're going to do a Christmas thing at work, and Secret Santa, and my coworker's like, name like 3 things you want. I said, what's our limit? $20-$25? And she goes, yeah. I said, all right, give me a $20 gift certificate to PayPal, a $20 gift certificate to PayPal, or $20 another one.
Starbucks.
And it's like, because then I could buy what I actually want.
Sure.
No gag gifts, not something that's going to be a ha-ha moment, a moment of time, and then
yeah, sure. But
Yeah, if it's secondary, but yeah, it's like save your money, and you're not going to go on eBay and buy me a baseball card because you'd be lost. So
Well, and then
yeah,
I was going to pose: would having number to 49 be better, or number to 99, instead of just number to 100, just number to ones?
yeah.
And that's one of those things that maybe they'll try running out in that these aren't selling out.
And I think a shorter price point or a slightly higher price point with a shorter, uh, like say
Production.
maybe yeah, numbered at a 49, but it's not going to cost you $70. I think would be a much better. Yeah, that's what I would have pushed for if I were working there at Tops, and somebody were asking my opinion. But that's just me.
Well, and I'm definitely not dropping $2,000 on a number to one Otani.
Yeah, yeah. Who knows?
Someone did.
Hey, more power to them. Um, Before we wrap up, there are a couple more things on our list. Real
Sure.
quick, we had the 2018 Tops MLB All Star Rookie Cup team. It's a print to order set, similar to the Home Run Derby, Rookie of the Year, MVP awards, all the stuff that you've seen in the past from Tops Now.
Sure.
There's parallel limited to one per purchase. I believe Twins Jake and stuff like that will tweet some of this stuff out once in a while if you want to place a pre-order with them, but there's multiples of 5, 10, 25, 49, and 99. It looks like the makeup, what is this? 6 from the AL, 6 from the NL,
Yep.
8 from the East, 2 from the Central, 2 from the West.
Yep.
You have 4 pitchers. It's Shohei Ohtani, Walker Buehler, Ryan Yarbrough, and AJ Minter make up your pitching class.
And then
And then
for
from
the infield and outfield, you got Jorge Alfaro, Ryan O'Hearn, which I'd never heard of. Sorry, Tim. Gleyber Torres, Willie Adames, Miguel Andujar, Ronald Acuna, Juan Soto, and Harrison Bader.
a decent checklist. It's got about half the guys are the guys, the Kuna and Andujar and Torres and Otani being Soto. There's your 5 big ones. So this is probably set. It's going to have quite a few on the print run. They are available for a week and then they go away.
1 week, and no offense to Toss, but this seems like one of those that's just kind of pushed out there for monetary means, because these aren't going to be their 2019 Topps base cards. They're probably going to have the same photo, probably going to have the same rookie cup that they've had for, when did Topps introduce that? Like 60, 59, somewhere in there. But do I need to go run out and grab a player from my team here? Probably not.
Yeah. It's a lot of that on demand stuff. I've gotten some of the stuff in my personal collection. Some of it's kind of like, whatever. I'll grab
At
it
a
if I
certain
see
point,
it.
you might as well just buy stock and Tops. It'd probably be cheaper.
Yeah, pretty much. Just pay. I'll go work for Tops, and then as I'm working there, I'll just ask them, "Hey, can you just write me a check with cards?" Yeah, I've worked at companies in the past, retail operations throughout the years, and that's kind of it was always the joke. Let me buy this, and then just cut me the difference on my weekly paycheck.
Yep.
So that's out there if you want it. Go to tops.com. I'm sure you can probably grab one of those. I don't know if they're going to be available on the secondary market like Now and On Demand and Living are. Generally, those sets are not available in my experience. So you need to buy them directly because once they're gone, and then you'll see them for ridiculous prices next week. And then lastly, real quick, Tops MLB PA renew their global baseball card agreement officially. The MLB PA formed in 1966. And at that time, you have 2 companies with those licenses, Panini and Tops. You want to go into depth there real quick?
Well, just that 2 current teams have the license, Panini and Tops. MLB obviously has the logos, and Tops is the only sole producer of MLB cards, but the Players Association gives them rights to the players and the rights to photos and producing cards. If you're a Topps collector, this changes nothing for you. It's nothing new. I think it runs through 2024. I think it's a 6-year renewal. The only thing that would have changed is if MLB came out and said, "Yeah, we're done with Topps," which they wouldn't have done. We saw that announcement this summer.
So this is basically the official announcement of everything has been signed and the ink is dry, and we're going back to
Players Association has written off and said that we'll still produce with Topps. Okay,
gotcha. So there's that, and that's obviously expected, and I'm sure when it expires here in a few years, it's probably going to be status quo again. I don't foresee it. I don't think anybody really sees it changing. Not unless somebody acquired somebody and there's some kind of a monopoly. Right now we're in an oligopoly, which means that there's a handful of companies that control the entire industry.
Sure.
And there's only really you got Topps, Panini, and then
Upper
Deck, and then you've got TriStars and Onyx and a couple of these other companies that come in, but really you've only got these three that control the entire industry. I mean, there's Leaf, but they're on the outskirts. So
yeah, it's like 1A, 1B, 1C, and then 3, 4,
couple others.
5, 6.
Yeah, which is the exact definition of an oligopoly. They control the entire industry, and if anything was to happen where somebody acquired somebody, then you start to get into the monopoly laws and who has to sell what. Yeah, and who knows. But yeah, for the foreseeable future, so good for Topps. Congrats. Good for the Major League Baseball Players Association. Nothing changes, and we can go back to our regularly scheduled programs. So
starting next week on Wednesday at 10.
That's right. So we are going to be back as we wrap up this evening. We appreciate everybody that joined us in the chat room and everybody that's going to be listening on demand, on your favorite iTunes, Stitcher, or on YouTube.
Indeed.
We are live every Wednesday night with a few exceptions. I know the last couple of weeks we were here on Thursday instead due to Halloween and a scheduling difficulty the week before. We are here at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 where Stefan's at, and 11 on the East Coast. Make sure you subscribe and review our show on YouTube, iTunes, and Stitcher. Please subscribe and review on all platforms if possible, if that's your thing. Always remember to hit us up on Twitter at About the Cards. Steph can be found at Junk Wax Twins. I'm at Our Trading Cards. We want to start a search party for our buddy at Big Shep 79. We wish him the best. Hopefully he's feeling better. He wishes he could have been here. But 2/3 majority ruled, and we're like, no, you can sit out, buddy.
Yeah, to take the back bench. No. If all things being equal, he would have loved to have been here this week, and we look forward to him coming back next week.
Yeah. It was one of those things we were like, hey, do we want to just skip a week? But we're like, no, we really want to be here for everyone, and he's like, no, don't not do a show on my account. And it was always as we've met so many of those folks listening through Twitter. Please hit us up if you have any suggestions. Please reach out if you'd like. Yeah.
If we accidentally fuck up and say the wrong name or the numbers, but it's been one of those weeks, guys.
But yeah, we try to incorporate a lot of what we see throughout the week in our show or in the chat room and discuss it because we were trying to be the voice for card collectors, and we hope that we're doing an okay job. And we want this to be everybody's show and try to incorporate everybody's ideas and thoughts along the way. So, and I think we're about ready for having another guest on the show here pretty soon. What do you think, Steph?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, so if anybody out there wants to either kind of come in and guest host for a little while on a Wednesday night, definitely reach out to us. Yeah, come in and say hi, and we can set something up, or maybe we even do one of our Dime Box live on location segments and maybe do something, because we also understand there's people in the industry that we would love to talk to that live on the East Coast that we've reached out to that we've had more of a scheduling issue with getting them on the show live. Luckily, Ryan Cracknell, when he came on, was on the Pacific Coast time, so for him it was really easy to hop on live. So it might always be one of those things too that, like a lot of shows, we may have to tape something throughout the week and then put that on during the show. and so it won't be live. But if you want to be on the show, definitely reach out to us, even if it's not something we can put together immediately. We definitely would like to have a roster of a handful of people that would like to come on and share your story, why you got collecting, what you collect, what your thoughts about the current state of the hobby is. We really want to be a show for everyone to be included. So.
And try to find what your disagreements with Ben are so we can block you on Twitter now.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be serious. I haven't had a Twitter argument in like a week and a half. Facebook, yes, but that's
you're stewing now.
That's because I talk a lot more politics and a local city group that I'm in. There's a lot of knuckleheads. It's really easy to fire people up. And God forbid I ever see one of these people at a grocery store. I'm on. I gotta go grocery shopping with my head down. Like, shoot, I'm sure I pissed you off. But it's all in good fun,
Absolutely.
I think a lot of times when people get blocked on Twitter, it's because they're knuckleheads. It's like that's the whole problem with social media, anyway, right? You can't see the person's intent and inflection in their voice, and things are taken out of. It's like when I called Tim a dum dum, he got mad one time, and I'm like, I'm saying like, hey dum dum, not like you are dumb.
Sure.
It's supposed to be in good fun. It's like life's too short. Wear a smile. So if you don't have anything else, I'm done.
Sure, let's roll.
So we appreciate everybody. I know I'm thirsty just watching you. So we love everybody. We appreciate all the follows and please keep collecting. And we'd love you to share your what's going on in your card collecting life. Any chance you get, keep it up and tag us whenever you get a chance because we'd like to talk cards and till next week.
We'll see you guys then.
Hey, everybody have a good night.
Mm-hmm.